One soldier, Soldier F, and he was responsible for the murder of 5 individuals that day, but he's now been put in the frame for 2, which is Willie McKinney and Jim Ray, and their injury of 4 others. So their victory is our victory. To deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity, said Nelson Mandela. We have walked a long journey since our fathers and brothers were brutally slaughtered on the streets of Derry on Bloody Sunday. Over that passage of time, all the parents of the deceased have died. We are here to take their place. Bloody Sunday was not just a wanton act carried out by a trained army against defenceless civil rights activists. It also created a deep legacy of hurt and injustice, and deepened and prolonged a bloody conflict unimaginable even in those dark winter days of 1972. The full cost of a Bloody Sunday cannot be measured just in terms of those who suffered that day, but must also be measured in terms of those who suffered because of that terrible day. We have just been informed of this series of charges, and they're easy to read. One soldier, Soldier F, multiple murderer, has been charged with 2 murders and 4 attempted murders.
Thanks, John. Good morning, everybody. We, the families of the murdered and wounded in Derry on Bloody Sunday, today heard the decision by the PPS to charge just one British paratrooper for his murderous actions on the 30th of January 1972. This announcement is further vindication of our decades-long campaign to clear the names of our loved ones and to bring those responsible for their deaths and injuries to justice. When the Bloody Sunday Justice campaign was launched in 1992, we had 3 clear demands: to have the Widgery whitewash overturned and replaced by an independent inquiry, to gain a formal acknowledgement of the innocence of all our loved ones, and to prosecute those responsible. With today's news, we now achieve our 3rd aim.
Good morning, everyone. However, we have also faced the disappointing news that in some cases there will not be prosecutions. And we are mindful of those families who received that news today. And believe me, there are many. We would like to remind everyone that no prosecution, or if it comes to it, no conviction, does not mean not guilty. It does not mean that no crime was committed. It does not mean that those soldiers acted in a dignified and appropriate way. It simply means that if these crimes had been investigated properly when they happened, and evidence gathered at the time, then the outcome would have been different. We note that Lord Savile's report findings on the actions of soldiers that day, that all the casualties were either the intended targets of the soldiers or the result of shots fired indiscriminately at people, that no soldiers fired in response to attacks or threatened attacks, that no soldiers fired in a state of panic, and that soldiers opened fire either in the belief that no one in the area towards which they respectfully fired was posing a threat or causing death or serious injury, or not caring whether or not anyone there was posing such a threat. These are not the sort of comments levelled at innocent people. The passage of time have made charges difficult in this case and in other cases, but the passage of time should not be used as a form of blanket immunity to block proper investigations. Everyone deserves justice, including those whose loved ones were murdered by the British state. There can be no substitute of limitations, there can be no statute of limitations used to deny justice, no new laws to protect state killers. But for us here today, it is important to point out that justice for one family is justice for all of us. We stand in full solidarity with those of us whose loved one's death or injury has not been included in the announcement of prosecutions. We also stand to complete the solidarity with the hundreds of families who have had to endure decades without an inquest, without a criminal investigation, and who have been left to struggle for their basic human right to justice. We hope our campaign continues to be an inspiration to them.
Good morning. Today's decision, although 47 years overdue, is the right one if we are to uphold the rule of law and hold perpetrators accountable for their crimes. However, we also say that the scope of the new police investigation was not wide enough, and we assert that the repeated failure to properly investigate the actions of those who planted nail bombs on the body of my uncle, 17-year-old Gerard Donaghy, is unacceptable. The Saville report left a stain on Gerard's innocence that this investigation could have removed, but it did not do so. We repeat our call for this injustice to be addressed. And while we as a group of families and individuals may have differing views on whether or not the soldiers who carried out the shootings should face jail, or how long they should spend in jail, we are all agreed that they should face the due process of the law. And they should do so in public. The very few British soldiers that were charged during the conflict here were named, and the same should apply to those being charged now. Killers should not benefit from anonymity. We maintain that key individuals in the army, in politics and beyond should also be held to account for their actions on that day and afterwards. This affront must also be rectified if justice is to be truly done and seen to be done. If the police officer in charge on the day of the Hillsborough tragedy can face prosecution, then so too can those who were in charge on Bloody Sunday. There cannot be one law for the military and political elite and one law for the others. Thank you.
Finally, there should be no further delay in dealing with the outstanding demand of the families of Bloody Sunday and the people of Derry. We call on all those who will administer the next stage to move with all speed to bring this to a conclusion. We call on all involved to cooperate fully and not indulge in any more delaying tactics. We call on the Crown Prosecution Service to complete this process and reach a decision on whether or not anyone is to be charged with perjury in relation to their evidence to the Bloody Sunday inquiry. We call on the Attorney General to investigate recent comments about these prosecutions being made by prominent politicians, including the British Minister of Defence, and decide if they too broke the law. If they have, they should be charged. charged. They cannot attempt to interfere in the judicial process just because they don't like it or because their voters don't like it. The dead cannot cry out for justice. It is the duty of the living to do so for them. We have cried out for them for many years, and now we have succeeded for them. Do not deny us justice any longer. Thank you. This is not the end of it. We will continue on and hopefully get the rest of the perpetrators to justice because of their legal means to actually get them prosecuted and bring them before the courts. So the campaign, the Bloody Sunday families, are not finished yet.
The Ministry of Defence has just said that they will be funding Soldier F's legal expenses entirely, and the Defence Secretary of the UK Government, Gavin Williamson, says that the welfare of their former soldiers is of the utmost importance. For you guys who've fought for so long, how do you feel about that?
I'm not sure I get the full question there.
The thrust of it would be, how do you feel that the UK Government is saying that the welfare of their soldiers is now of the utmost importance and their priority?
Well, we're not surprised about that. Of course they're going to fund them, they're going to look after them. They've been looking after them all this past 40 years. We forced them under an apology, we forced them under an inquiry. Not one but surprised at that, at the British government's behaviour anyway.
Jerry Moriarty, the Irish Times. Thanks. Just checking, will the Bloody Sunday campaign give any consideration to taking a civil case against the soldiers because a different standard of evidence applies?
Kieran Shields, Madeleine Finnegan. We already have taken civil cases against the Ministry of Defence. All of those cases have so far been concluded successfully. Significant damages have been paid, which underscore the innocence, the total innocence of all the persons who were shot, dead and wounded. There are a handful of those cases still to be resolved, and we anticipate that all of the civil cases will be concluded by the end of the summer term, by the end of June.
One of the men, one of the greatest men in Derry.
No, I'm not. Folks, I hit that word here. I'm not a hero. I've done what I had to do on that day. I didn't do enough, but I'm no hero. Everybody done their bit that day. Even this gentleman sitting beside me here, Charlie Glenn, who was the first aider, who was helping Jackie trying to get him back to life. But I would like to ask, we're talking about solicitor, at the present time, whether I pick this up right or wrong, legislation trying to get pushed through in Westminster, the Holy Grail, bastards, God forgive me, saying that anonymity, they're going to try and push back the time back to 68, where it was from 73 on that people done anything with the Troubles, they get a lesser sentence. I'm afraid that these boys are going to push this through so that these murdering gets, for a slight word, ladies and gentlemen, I could say more, that they are going to get away and say, oh, they're going to get anonymity. How do you feel about that, Kieran? Can you say something to us about it?
Well, the position is that the soldier who for now is known as Lance Corporal F, when he ultimately faces charges, we would expect that anonymity is stripped of him. I think, Hugh, that you were also making the point. Will this person serve a life sentence if he's convicted of multiple murder and attempted murder? Look, the true position is there hasn't been a British soldier convicted of murder who served a life sentence yet. Fisher and Wright, Lee Clegg, Ian Thane, I think the most that any of them served was a period of 3 years. So what we would be saying is that the royal prerogative of mercy should not be given to Soldier F if he's ultimately convicted of these crimes.
Right, thank you.
John and all the families, I just want to congratulate you on your dignified determination campaign. John Taggart, my father was shot by the paratroopers in August 1971. He shot 14 times. But you have showed us the right road to go. You have set the pace for hard to correct history. I know it's exactly what you've done today. You've corrected history. And the ones from Ballymurphy who were murdered in August 1971, we congratulate you and we're so proud of you for what you have done, not just for yourselves, but your families.
Well, Paul, we're going to call a minute's silence on behalf of all those who were murdered on Bloody Sunday. A minute's silence, please. Thank you.
I really lost my breath.
You've been watching coverage of a news conference with the families of those killed on Bloody Sunday, descendants of some of those killed in 1972. Bloody Sunday, such a significant moment in the history of Northern Ireland, 47 years ago. And today we've heard that one former soldier is to face charges over events on that day. The former soldier Currently known as Soldier F, was known as Soldier F throughout the Savile inquiry, which went over 12 years looking into events on Bloody Sunday. Many thousands of pages of evidence heard over those years. Today, Soldier F, who for now maintains his anonymity, is charged with 2 murders and 3 attempted murders. And we heard there from the families that justice for one family is justice for all of us. But they were making clear their disappointment that there have not been more charges brought, and said we are mindful of the families who have not seen charges brought against anyone over the deaths of their loved ones. No prosecution or no conviction does not mean not guilty, one said. It does not mean the soldiers acted in a dignified and responsible way. No soldiers fired in response to attacks or threatened attacks. That's something that was made clear during the Savile inquiry. Let's go to our correspondent, Karen Allen.